Okay, we're going to do some exercises off of tracing recursion worksheet number 2. Check out this first situation. I don't believe we've done any recursive methods where there was a system out print statement inside the body of the method. And furthermore, notice there is no return statement. This is a void recursive method. We do have the method strRecur that calls itself, but there's no return statement. So follow along to see how this works. Well, we start with the strrecur of wyo. Let's just call this method sr to keep this brief here in my note taking. So the sr of yo is equal to, well, is the length of yo, the parameter s, which is yo right now, is the length of that less than 6? Well, it is. The length is 3. So we execute this code. We system out print. This problem doesn't really lend itself to this equal symbol. Rather, I'm just going to keep notes that this call prints the word yo on the screen, and it then calls strrecur of s plus asterisk. S is yo, and tack an asterisk onto that. So we call sr with yo as a parameter, but with a little star appended to the end of that. Now we execute this method again, but we're passing a different parameter. So in the second stack frame, sr is being called with the string yo asterisk. Well, the length of that is less than 6, so we system out print s. S at this moment is yo with a star appended to it. So this stack frame prints wyo asterisk. And it calls sr s concatenated with another asterisk. S right now is wyo star in this stack frame number 2. So we're tacking on a star to that. So there will be 2 stars because this plus is string concatenation. So the new parameter is yo star star. I forgot my double quotes. I'm going to stop using double quotes here because it just makes my scratch work messy. So we are now down into stack frame number 3, where we're calling the method sr, but we're passing along yo with 2 asterisks. Wow, hopefully we're close to being finished here because this is getting tedious. The parameter s is this string, yo with 2 stars. The length is still less than 6 because the length of this is 5. So again, we print s. So in this stack frame, we print wyo star star, and we're calling sr with wyo star star as the parameter. That stack frame, oh, I forgot to append my extra star. Whoops, there should be an extra star here, a 3rd star, and then that is the parameter into this 4th stack frame. The 4th stack frame has wyo star 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 as the string that's being passed to it. And the length of that parameter, s, which is all this, the length is 6. So this is false. So we don't execute the body of that if statement. Nothing inside these curly braces is executed. Therefore, we hit this curly brace. And since it's a void method and there's no return, we just stop. And the computer would still bubble up to these previous stack frames, but there isn't anything left to do in these stack frames. So essentially, we're finished. And the final output of all of this on your console output window is the things that I wrote print next to in the order that they were printed. And because this is println, each piece of this, the WYO, the WYO star, they are on separate lines. WYO with 2 stars, and that's it. Notice that WYO with 3 stars was never printed, even though that parameter made it into this method as a parameter. Because this was false, we never hit the system out print where that S had a 3rd asterisk in it. So therefore it never printed. That is the final answer to question number 1. The output is this output. Let's look at exercise number 2 in this worksheet. Here we're wondering what happens when you do print string with the word YO. Well, in the first stack frame, we just called PS. I'll call this method PS. PS is called with YO as a parameter. The length of that is indeed greater than 0. It's 3, so we do indeed execute this. And now we are calling print string with S substring 1. Well, we're not printing anything yet. But S dot substring 1, when S is WYO, 0, 1, 2. Substring, when you have the parameter 1, starts at the character in position 1 and takes everything remaining from that. So we need to call print string yo, because that's what s.substring 1 did. It pretty much effectively cut off the W. Now we don't system out print anything yet. We are kind of like suspended right here in stack frame number 1, waiting to execute this, but we have to call the method print string again. So this yo gets passed as a parameter to stack frame number 2, and it's not until we bubble back up these stack frames that there will be something else to system out print here after this call. Just keep that in the back of your mind. It's going to lead to an interesting result here. Okay, now we're in the second stack frame and the parameter is yo. And with the parameter yo as S, and the length is indeed greater than 0, the length of that is 2. So s.substring 1 means that we go to that O, we're pretty much cutting out the Y, and we're calling print string with just O. Instead of yo, it's just O. And then we're just waiting to system out print something right there. We don't know what it's going to be printing out, but we're just waiting. And we call this method a 3rd time in the 3rd stack frame, where the letter O is passed as a parameter. The length of that one letter is indeed greater than 0. So we call print string with s.substring 1, where S is the letter O. And that letter O is in position 0 of this string. And therefore we're taking everything that's, well, right here, which is nothing, and we're passing it to yet another call of the print string method. So in other words, we're passing the empty string to this method print string for a 4th stack frame. So we are in the 4th stack frame where the parameter S is the empty string. And the empty string's length is not greater than 0. So we don't do anything here, and therefore we end this method. There's nothing that's done here in stack frame number 4, and we certainly are not calling print string again. So we bubble back up to stack frame number 3 here, and we wonder, hey, what was S? Because we finally get to this line of code, system out print, s.substring 0, 1. We haven't seen this line of code execute yet, but now we are back up into stack frame number 3, and where s is the parameter, is the string O, and the substring 0, 1 of O, well, if you have a string, it's just the letter O. That O is in position 0, and s.substring 0, 1 means start at position 0 and take one character from that point on. So all of this simplifies to the letter O. And notice that it's print, not println. So because of stack frame number 3, we print the letter O. And then we hit this curly brace, which means we bubble back up to stack frame number 2, where the parameter s was yo. And when the parameter s was yo, we need to take the s.substring of 0, 1. Well, 0, 1. That means we're taking the y out of yo. So a y prints according to stack frame number 2. And then you hit the curly brace in stack frame number 2, and the computer remembers that it has unfinished work back up in stack frame number 1 left to do. This question mark, something had to print here as a result of this line of code. So in stack frame number 1, the parameter s was yo. And yo has its letters in positions 0, 1, and 2. And the s.substring of 0, 1, 0, 1. You start at position 0 according to substring, and you take one letter from there, including position 0, so you're taking the w. And because of that w that's extracted, we are system out printing it. And because there's no ln here, well, I'll take care of that later. But we now are finished in stack frame number 1. We hit this curly brace, and there is no other place to bubble up to. There's no stack frame 0 or -1. We're finished. So what is displayed? Well, the 0 displayed first because of the bubble up nature of how this recursive method works. Then the y printed, and then the w printed. And because there was no ln here, it all printed on the same line. You know what just happened? The original parameter, yo, that was first passed to stack frame number 1 as s, was pulled apart letter by letter and printed backwards. This method should have been named, I don't know, print word backwards, because that's what it did. This was a fun exercise. Moving on to number 3 here. That's a really tricky one itself. Let's take a crack at number 3 here. You need to see one like this first before you try to do something like this. This is tough. Do something 3. Let's call it ds. Now I'm writing this in the middle of my scratch paper area, ds3. N is currently 3 as the parameter, and it is greater than 0, so we do something n-1. 3 minus 1 is 2, so we do ds2. So this method is calling itself, but passing 2 as a parameter. Then it prints, but we can't do that print until we call do something 1, where that 2 minus 1 is printed. And 1 is still greater than 0, so ds calls itself with 0 as a parameter. Finally, in this base case, because 0 is not greater than 0, nothing happens. This is a void method, so no number is returned, and we just kind of bottom out here. Then we come back up to this stack frame. I'm not really counting stack frames anymore. And we are finally finished executing like this. And now we print n with no ln, by the way. So a 1 prints in our output window because of this. And then we call do something n-1. Well, 1 minus 1 is 0, so we're calling do something 0, which causes nothing to print out because this is false. And then the computer bubbles up to where n was 2, and we had finished this line of code, and it's time to do, in this stack frame, it's time to system out print n. Well, n is 2 in that stack frame. So a 2 prints out. I'll just put like a plus symbol there. A 2 prints out because of that stack frame. And then it releases past this point and gets to this point where 2 minus 1 is 1. And this method gets called where n is 1. 1 is greater than 0. And it calls do something of 0, which doesn't cause anything to print out. So it bottoms out. Then it bubbles back up and it prints a 1. I'll put a little triangle here because of that stack frame. And then it releases down here to n minus 1. So it gets to the point where it calls do something 0, and that bottoms out and doesn't do anything. And then this algorithm just remembers where it is back on the stack frame where the parameter n was 3. And it releases to this print statement because this has now been finished. And it prints the number 3. Print ln n, which is 3 in the stack frame. I don't know, I'll use like a little like, I don't know what letters, a $sign. So that stack frame causes a 3 to print out. And then it calls do something 3 minus 1, which is 2. And if you can see what I'm doing, I'm making like a tree where this is at the top and it branches down to this and this. This was above these two guys. These are called nodes. This node is above this node and this node. It's kind of like a tree. This guy is above this guy and this guy. And now we're branching down. And I'll let it go for you as an exercise, but this half of the tree will be the same as this half of the tree. Because of this stack frame, we will be printing, this is going to branch to a do something 1, and that 1 will print for, well, it's going to go down to ds0, which prints nothing. Then it's going to go back up to here and print, I'll just put like a percent symbol here. Because of that, a 1 prints. Then it's going to bubble up to here, and I'll just use a pound sign to represent that this stack frame prints a 2. And then this stack frame bubbles down to do something 1, which immediately bubbles down to do something 0, which prints nothing, but it bubbles back up to do something 1, and it prints n, which is 1. Put it like an ampersand there or something, and that 1 prints out. And then it does bubble down to do something 0, which prints nothing. So right there, because of the lack of ln, there's no ln there, these numbers are what print because of this execution. Very complicated. The method do something calls itself twice with a system out print in the middle, but it prints a really nice pattern here because of this. Finally, in number 4, with do something 3, no, I'm sorry, mystery 3. Mystery 3 gets called, and it then, because 3 is not less than 0, it does this, and it returns whatever mystery of 3 minus 1, whatever mystery of 2 plus the mystery of 3 minus 3, whatever mystery of 2 plus the mystery of 0 is equal to. Well, the mystery of 2, when n is 2, that ends up turning into the mystery of 2 minus 1, which is 1, plus the mystery of 2 minus 3, which is negative 1. And this mystery of 1 ends up breaking down into a mystery of 1 minus 1, which is 0, plus a mystery of negative 2. That's what this simplified to this. This mystery of negative 1, and all that has to still be added along. So that plus carries down. Mystery of negative 1 turns into negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2, plus the mystery of negative 1 minus 3, which is negative 1 minus 3. That's the negative 4, Wow, I don't have enough room for all this. This turned into all of this. Gee whiz, the mystery of 0. Well, 0 is not less than 0. Oh, I'm sorry, mystery of -1. We should have never executed this. That was just 2. I went too far. This doesn't exist here. This mystery of -1 turned into just the number 2. So there's a big fat 2 there. Now this mystery 0, 0 is not less than 0, so this turns into a 2. The mystery of -2, because that's not less than 0, or it is less than 0. Okay, this mystery 0, 0 is not less than 0. So it does this, the mystery of -1 plus the mystery of -3. This mystery of 0 did turn into all this. And all of that is being added to the mystery of -2, which is a 2. We still have this +2 along for the ride. These two guys end up being, because they're both less than 0, they end up being 2's. Sorry about the sloppiness, but we end up having from all of this side of my tree, I have a 2 plus a 2 plus a 2 plus a 2. And I still haven't dealt with this side yet. So on this side of the fence, the mystery of 0. 0, which is not less than 0, so this executes. That 0 turns into the mystery of -1, because 0 minus 1 is -1, plus the mystery of 0 minus 3, plus the mystery of -3. And because -1 is indeed less than 0, this is a 2. Because -3 is indeed less than 0, this is a 2. This plus is still there, and this plus is still there. So I end up with 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Boy, that's the answer 12. All of this worked out to be the number 12.